So this video is going to be kind of a solution for anyone that has been aggressively under eating calories, lost a ton of weight, and you're kind of terrified to start eating more calories. Like, what do you do now that you've lost this weight at this certain amount of calories and you want to essentially eat more? This is in line with a lot of questions that I get about people that have been on certain medicines like Ozempic or the like, or just in general, just under eating. And essentially they think they have a slower metabolism. You have created a forced, what's called metabolic adaptation, where your body has become more efficient in creating energy or running off of less energy to do the same amount of things. Like, for example, like your resting metabolic rate, the energy that's required for you to just like fidget, walk around, eat, like that type of stuff. Your body has just become more efficient in operating on requiring less energy to do those certain tasks. So what happens when a person loses a ton of weight, probably really rapidly because they aggressively underate? One, you probably did not lose just body fat. Anytime someone does not prioritize eating enough protein to sustain the lean mass that they have currently, and then also does not do exercises that build or maintain that lean mass, if you do an aggressive weight loss, you will no doubt lose a lot of lean mass as well as some fat mass. You're losing one of the most important tissues on your body that helps your energy burning system be more efficient. I would say the number one factor that anybody, if they're ever restricting calories, always has to keep up is the amount of protein that they have. Like, that's one of the macronutrients that should never change. You should always be eating at minimum the minimum requirement to lessen the loss of lean mass. Like, that is like number one of most importance whenever you're doing a restriction. Outside of that, playing with your carbohydrates and fats, that's where you kind of take away from the calorie total for the day to create a deficit. A lot of people that will do diets, they're not thinking about that. And in the process, they end up cutting a lot of the protein out and then not doing the exercise even to sustain that lean mass as well to keep it healthy. And so they end up losing that lean mass that is a very precious tissue on your body. So what happens to somebody that after all this? So you're a person that just lost a ton of weight, you didn't eat enough protein, didn't exercise. Where do you go now? Well, the first thing that I thought of, as far as a person eating in a severe deficit, how they would come out of it, the first thing I thought of was a reverse diet. So reverse dieting is a strategy that a lot of bodybuilders and like figure competitors use post-show prep. So they've been in a calorie deficit for several weeks, up to 12, 14, 16 weeks. They get down to a very, very low body fat percentage for the stage on that one day. They cannot stay eating in that low calorie forever because it messes with hormones. They will start to lose lean mass. I mean, that's just kind of like an inevitable byproduct of under eating, is that eventually your body is going to start pulling energy from other places that you may not want it to pull from. Anyway, so in order to come out of that low calorie deficit that these athletes are eating, they'll do what's called a reverse diet. And a reverse diet just basically means that they're slowly adding in calories, usually like in a step-by-step, like either a week or every 2 weeks, they'll add something like 2 or 3% of, the calories that they're starting at. They'll just add 2 to 3% more each week or every 2 weeks until they get to the point where they're up at a maintenance calorie level. And so this is just to try to lessen the weight gain rebound that usually happens for anybody who just is coming out of a very restricted calorie deficit. When you go into a calorie deficit or a weight loss or any kind of stressor, your body is trying to get back to homeostasis. So get back to even keel where it is not losing or gaining weight. It likes to be nice and steady. And so when you stress it out, you will automatically put yourself into this metabolic adaptation where your body is adjusting to whatever you're doing to it. So essentially that's what your metabolism is. When people start eating a lot, or even if it's like a normal calorie amount for a normal person, they end up putting on more weight because their body hasn't had time to adjust to that new level of calories that they're putting in their body. And so where 1 week you were eating super calorie deficit, and then the next week you're like bumping it up to, an extra 600 calories, 500 calories a day, and your body is still thinking it's only going to get that, 1,200 calories or whatever it is, So they'll do it in stages where they slowly increase usually it's the fats and the carbohydrates, because what I mentioned, protein is like something that should always stay the same, or at the very least, the bare minimum requirements. That's the only time that I've ever seen people do a reverse diet. So I started thinking about what happens if a regular person does it. Now, the problem with comparing a bodybuilder that does a reverse diet to a normal person, so somebody that says doesn't exercise and doesn't have a lot of muscle, like that's the difference. Like where a bodybuilder, they are very heavily muscled, they already have that lean mass that they are trying to keep. They have a better chance at not putting on body fat simply because they have more lean mass than, say, an under-muscled person that doesn't work out and doesn't have that extra tool, that extra muscle tissue to help keep burning energy just even at rest. My question would that work? Would a reverse diet work for somebody that say they want to get off Ozempic? Like what would happen? I think it logically makes sense to try to do it that way, regardless of what your muscle status is. If you don't have a lot of muscle, you would probably need to do two things. Number one, get in the gym and start building muscle no matter what your calorie intake looks like right now. Because regardless of where you're starting, that's the path to a efficiently working metabolism, is being an active individual with healthy muscle tissue. So it doesn't matter who you are, what age you are, what weight you are, like it's a given. Like that's what you would have to do anyways. So that's number one. I would definitely get into the gym and start learning how to train your muscles to grow. After that, I would think about doing a reverse diet, where you would gradually 2% add to the week, stay at that for an entire week, then add another 2%, stay at that for another week of calories until you get to a point where you're at some type of maintenance type of calorie intake. What I would expect is weight gain. So there's no getting around that, unfortunately, because you've essentially trained your body to adapt to needing less energy. And so essentially you're gonna have to take a lot of time to retrain it to adjust and need this energy. So it can be a double whammy of like, you could increase your calorie intake, but while you're in the gym working out to build muscle, it could be more likely to be muscle rather than all fat. Because if you don't do the exercise, you are guaranteed to just gain body fat. Like, that's the weight gain that comes. And so I've mentioned this before, where that's the real reason that I have the problem that I have with normal people that don't medically need that medicine using it as a weight loss tool, is because they end up not working out, eating basically nothing, and losing their precious muscle mass. And so therefore, when they want to get off, they've literally just shot their metabolism in the foot, because they ended up lighter but with less muscle. And so therefore, you cannot eat as much as even you could have done before you started. That's kind of my take on it. There's not a lot of research of people like that are under muscled or are overweight doing a reverse diet of any sort. So this is literally just a theory of mine, but it seems logical to me. And it's worth a shot, because regardless of what happens, like how you go about getting off, there is going to be some weight gain. You might as well be very strategic about it, but also put that other factor of trying to build muscle while you're reverse dieting out of it. Essentially, to build muscle, you have to eat more calories. But even if you're not building as much muscle or as quickly as you would want, because it's really hard to build muscle, you're at least burning some energy and getting in the habit of that exercise that you need to learn how to do anyways, once you get out of this little rut. I just wanted to offer that bit of kind of explanation of what I've been thinking about. Reverse diet could be a theory that you try, or a strategy, but very much not a theory. Very realistically, you need to get in the gym and start building some muscle.